Hey, welcome to Cinemondo with Kathy and Amit from D54. We are doing non-spoiler reviews of this great new web series out called Echum. You can subscribe to it. It's super cheap. You just subscribe, you get 7 movies. It's such a good deal. It's like I think it's $4 in America. It's so good.
Yep.
And then you get all the behind the scenes, you get scripts, you get director interviews, you get all kinds of great content, and they'll probably add to it. And I would really like to support it because I would love to see season 2 basically of this, because it's like a little film festival, beautiful, just not necessarily directly connected, but connected in more of a emotional way. Like all the titles of these are like a state of mind and kind of an emotion. Like we've already talked about Flight, and we've talked about Void, and now we're talking about Tradition. That one is, it says, a bizarre turn of events. A funeral procession marches forward, unaware that the person they mourn is alive and well, walking amongst them.
Yep.
So strange. The director is Sanal Aman and Saroop Elaman, and it stars Prakash Raj, who's like the big deal in this. Like, great.
Yep.
Kind of
I mean,
carries.
we saw him a few times in the trailer, right? Like in the
Yes.
trailer, he was like, when I saw him, I was like, oh my god, Prakash Raj is in this? Oh my god, he's a big deal.
Very big deal.
Like one of the, I don't know if he's the most famous Kannada actor. He must be up there as one of the most famous because he's somebody that goes across all languages. He's multilingual. He speaks basically every language. He speaks all the major languages in at least South India, I believe. And also Hindi, so he's able to be in Bollywood as well. He's been doing it for such a long time. Such a prominent figure in the Kannada film industry. So to just see him, like, especially in this like very intriguing role, I was drawn to watch this one. Like, it was actually the first one I watched because I was like, okay, Prakash Raj is in it. Let me just start with the heavy stuff.
Exactly. I think it's the first one I watched also. It's such a disturbing one, especially as our first one. Like it's a mystery because you're not quite sure what's happening. And then it becomes this like, what? Like crazy ending, like just really, really hardcore. And so I watched it and I'm like, wow, these are going to be intense. And then of course they're all very different. Some are very much light. One's a rom-com, one's like just a drama. Another one's kind of like, a lot of messaging about, the haves and have-nots. I mean, there's a lot of depth in a lot of these, and this was no exception. But it's just a little more of the disturbing storylines that was in these, which I highly admire because I'm the horror movie fan. I love disturbing storylines. But I liked this because it was and it's even in the description for genre, this is called abstract drama.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. Which I mean, I think means kind of surreal,
Yeah, this one definitely felt the most surreal. At least the ones I've seen so far. The other two we've talked about with Flight and Void, which we talked about, are definitely more grounded. This one I almost started to wonder in between, like, is there some kind of supernatural element or something like
is it
that?
real?
I mean, like, is this all like a dream or something like that? Like, this one was such a strange one.
Very strange.
Because the premise was like, I mean, when I read the premise, I thought it was going to be somebody that's like going to arrive to his funeral. So maybe someone's having like a eulogy or something like that, and he's hearing about it. But it's not like that, like that at all. It is really the title is very interesting, like Tradition in this one, because it is really talking about that one in this one, I think. And I guess it's the most explicit compared to the other ones. Like this is really focused around how tradition is above everything and literally like everything. Like
like if there's a funeral for you, you can't get out of it. You have to do it. You have to be at your funeral in a bad way. So it's like, what's going to happen here? I was like, what? But I thought they did a good job because it felt almost like a capsule TV show where they have the one where it's all in one room kind of, and they are all like, it's a cat and mouse kind of idea where it's a lot of discussion and angst and people plotting and then other people plotting, and there's kind of this clash, and then they kind of know what to do, and there's sort of this will they or won't they kind of. So I love the idea. Like it was a small area. It was mostly about psychological, cat and mouse. That's all I can say about it, because really it's kind of like, will he? Well, you have to, but does he? I don't know. Like, so there's a lot of trying to talk people out of it, trying to talk people into it. So I liked that because it felt like it was all about the dialogue and the psychology of what was going on. So I really appreciate that. I thought that was a cool idea.
No, I completely agree. And that's very well put. It is exactly that. Like compared to the other ones that we talked about, this has essentially two settings. Like there's really just two settings in this one. There's there's a place where he's gonna I guess go to the funeral, if you want to call it like that, or however you want to call that, the end scene, or the end destination, and then in between, like the journey towards them.
The journey to the end.
Yeah. So that's really it. But it is definitely more contained. Like they don't travel so much. They don't go around everywhere. It's just they're basically in 2 locations, and it's more about the dialogue and more about the, as you said, will he, won't he situation. How is he going to be convinced to do this terrible act if he's going to do that?
Exactly. And the acting was really good because I always felt like people were really on point. Like there was a lot of angst, and of all of the kind of family angst and drama and the crying and the begging and pleading, that was probably the least part that I thought was effective. I thought the best part was when they're the kind of leadership,
I agree.
the people who are trying to find ways to convince this guy that this is the right thing, that you need to do this, and this whole political and traditional things clashing. There was just something really cool about that. I could have done with just that. Not even
Honestly,
the
yeah.
family equation, even though they did it because you're like, well, what does family think? Well, of course you have to add that in there because, and they have to be convinced also, and everyone's kind of got to be on board. But in a way you think about it, it's like, I guess all of us are on our way to our own funeral pyre in life, aren't we? I guess one day we will also have to find our way to our funeral, one way or the other.
That's true.
But
that's a pretty good spin on it.
It was a very strange one. It was a strange one. I think it was one of the shorter ones, but it was very contained. Like I said, very contained, very short, very simple, clean storyline. There was no extra like weird, rug being pulled out from under you. It's a very linear way to it, and you just have to decide what you would do. It's kind of what would I do? It's one of those. So. But yeah, it was definitely one of the more disturbing ones.
It's definitely, it really was disturbing. It was probably the most challenging one that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
In terms of, I guess, the final outcome, I guess, and what they were trying to express in this one was challenging, but also the way they presented it as well. Like, I mean, I do completely agree with you. The first half of this short film was one that I really enjoyed a lot more because it was just so much intrigue and so much like mystery as to what's happening. And half the time I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Like, is this actually happening? Like, how did they
actually really going to do this? I don't think so. There's something else to this.
No. And I'm thinking there must be other ways around this situation, but it doesn't really go into that too much. I do agree with you. Like, this is probably the one that I guess the abstract, surrealism, whatever you want to call it, that kind of notion made it a little bit harder to connect compared to the other ones. Like, I was really having a hard time connecting to this one, especially in the second half. With the whole, as you mentioned, the family comes down and they're talking to him, and they themselves are convincing him, you have to do this because of what's happened. I'm like,
I was like, come on,
it's hard to believe, like, really, like okay, tradition is important, but maybe that's the whole point of this movie. It's meant to sort of emphasize the fact that tradition is above everything, and that's not necessarily a good thing.
No, I think that was the message. I think it was like,
Yeah.
tradition can be destructive and terrible
Exactly.
and unnecessary sometimes. Like sometimes tradition needs to go away and you need to like find new ways. And I think that was sort of like, I want them to do that, you know, find a way out of the tradition and find a constructive way to get in. And I think that was part of the struggle of part of this. We won't give anything away, but you know, what is going to happen at the end? Are they going to go with tradition or are you going to go with a new way of thinking, which, you know, sometimes traditions are not correct. I mean, we got to challenge our ideas about tradition, because I think a lot of times that's just a veil for doing the wrong.
Completely agree.
But you know, highly recommend. Again, I'll say you can click the link in our description. We'll have it during the video too. You subscribe, you get all 7 movies. You can watch them all at once. You can watch them one at a time, however you want to do it. And then let us know in the comments if you're watching and what you think, because I think it's a really great idea for the Kannada film industry. So Rakshit Shetty to bring this out, put his name on it, bring some awareness, and we're trying to do that too, because when the filmmakers approached us to review these are great. I love the idea, so I'd love if more filmmakers could do this kind of thing. So we're really trying to support it. So you will also support it and us if you click the link in our channel and let us know what you think of these. I think they're pretty damn great. So let us know your favorite. Let us know your thoughts, and make sure you subscribe to D54 and Cinemondo, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.